Hi sailors, I am Shishpal and welcome to my channel Maths Pirates. Hope your day is being good. As I mentioned in the previous video of my first playlist on Epoch Zero, in the final video I mentioned that I will be starting a new playlist upon introducing to the world of numbers as a playlist of Epoch 1. Right? Now in this video, we'll be having a quick recap of our previous concepts that we discussed and those aspects that helps us to start our journey into this playlist of Epoch 1, introducing the world of numbers. See, for thousands of generations, the humans, they could observe the world, they could observe the things around them, they could observe how the things are growing around them. They could observe the natural phenomena, right? The first thing that every human did as a part of evolution was observation. They observed the things around them. They started noticing. Understanding how they are done was a secondary thing, but first primary thing they done was noticing, observing the things around them, and understanding what's happening. And the second thing was comparison. They compared the things around them. I made a separate video regarding the aspect of comparison in my first playlist of Epoch Zero. You can go and see that playlist. As part of comparison, be understood that it is a relative term. It is a relative term. We can suppose I have this marker. Now I want you guys to say that is this marker bigger or smaller regarding physical properties as well as the behavioral properties. We can't we notice that it is black in color. When I start writing using it, I see the ink of black color coated with white, written some details over here, right? So coming to the comparison, we can't compare it because we don't have any relative object. If any identical marker is bigger than this one, we can say that this marker is small. And is there any other marker that is smaller than this one? I can say that this marker is big, right? But there is no other thing I have in my hand to compare. Now I take another marker. Suppose I have this green marker and black marker. You see, both are identical at the below part, but it is green and it is black, right? Now, that's how we understand the aspect of comparison is always a relative term. And that comparison, that aspect has helped the human beings to track their assets, to track their stocks. And another aspect is pattern recognition. I explained a lot and a lot of things regarding pattern recognition. And I also introduced another aspect of periodicity. The repeated events, certain dis- distinguishable events which is repeated after the completion of that event. That same timestamp of event repeated again and again. That particular distinguishable event is called as a single period, and that repetition of that period is called as periodicity. I discussed a lot of examples with you guys, and one of the example I want to repeat is passing of days. In a single day, we see morning, afternoon, evening, and night. Right? Again, next day the same pattern is repeated. This pattern recognition help our the ancestors of the world to make a strong foundation towards time calculation, instance calculation, and was a strong foundation for calendar as well. And that same aspect of comparison has helped to distinguish between groups. Suppose I have three apples over here, right? And three mangoes over here. See, when I look at these two group of objects, we see that the quantity is same here. I'm not going to use the numbers to explain that because I did not introduce that. I'll be introducing in the further videos of the same playlist. Now, our basic sense, we can say that they both have same quantities, but different objects. These are apples and these are mangoes, right? Same quantity, but different objects. A single group with same objects, which are apples, another group with the same type of objects, which are mangoes. This is what the distinguishing between the groups. Now, hope you have observed the heading here, how many. This single question was the strong foundation that made people feel necessity to introduce their own system of representing the quantity. Right? Let's look at few of the factors that made people feel compulsion to introduce their own style of number system. The first thing is food collection. As I mentioned here, matter for survival. Right? Coming to the aspect of food collection, see, for people who completely depend on farming, working as farmers, they have very good idea regarding what quantity is being grown in their own land, right? How is that even possible? How will they even have a clarity of what type of goods are grown in what type of places to what quantity? That's that's through their own style of measuring system that let them make easy for food collection. Collection in the sense when we can say that I have collected certain quantity of food stocks. How can we say that? We don't have any measuring system, right? We don't have any estimation system of numbers, right? So it was a bit challenging thing to maintain a record of such collections. And the second aspect is Number of goods or livestock, as I mentioned before. Consider a huge stock of goods or livestock. Maintaining that record is really a critical thing because of lack of measuring system of quantities. They can't track whether the same quantity of goods was there or not, or is there anything lost during a period, right? It's very difficult for them to maintain the stock to ensure that nothing is lost. Even if we want to say that something is lost, we need to show the track of that change in the quantity of goods, right? But we don't even have the quantity measuring system which we are using right now. We are using as numbers, right? This was an aspect. And another thing is sharing resources. See, depending upon the group of people present, we calculate how to distribute those stocks, right? But because we don't have any quantity measuring system, we can't even say how many people are present over there. So how, so is it's really a tough thing to estimate what pieces these stocks must be divided so that everyone gets an equal share. It was a it is also another challenging aspect. Tracking possessions, as I said before, maintaining the track of quantity of goods, a record of quantity of goods, how many goods were exported, how many goods were imported, right? Every trade, quantity of every trade must be mentioned in the record, right? So that we can understand is everything is clear to ensure that nothing is lost, right? But it is also another difficult thing because of lack of measuring system and repeated events. See, people as a part of their living, they repeatedly they face these type of situations that made them really difficult to perform their businesses, their works. These were the compulsions that driven the people around the world to create their own style of quantity measuring systems, which we present call it as number system. In your in even in your school curriculum, you will listen, you will learn about it as a number sense or knowing our numbers. Even in schooling system, they introduce the aspect of number system as number sense or knowing our numbers. They introduce you to certain aspects of the number system with chapter mentioned as number sense or knowing our numbers. If you have already, if you are already learning in your school level mathematics, or you already surpassed it, you might have a very clear idea about this. Now, the necessity of comparison to say whether more or less, which led to the aspect of compulsion of comparison to maintain a track, a record of goods, right? These these all these aspects have led to give a unique their own style of numbering system to measure the quantity, which later on considered as number system. The main motto of this playlist is to make you guys understand about the numbers and the system, right? We'll be also looking at some philosophical aspects regarding this, and deep practical awareness and idea towards many concepts regarding numbers like place values, prime numbers, even numbers, and odd numbers, many concepts, etc. Now, now we got a compulsion that we need to measure the quantity. Now I have this amount of apples in my hand. Now I need to say how many are they, because we have not gone through any number system. We cannot say the quantity without using numbers, as we are already aware of, right? So with assuming that we don't know any numbers, we have not gone through any number system, it's a really difficult thing for us to measure the quantity. See, because we are aware of numbers, we can say that there are three apples here. There are three apples, right? Because we use the symbol 3 here, because we already knew numbers. But assuming that we don't know any numbers, it's a really difficult thing for us to track the quantity of apples here. So how the gap of measuring the quantity was fulfilled in the later time, we'll be discussing in the next video. The journey is going to be really and amazing, amazing, guys. Hope you enjoyed my video. I'll be continuously uploading such videos in my channel. Just keep a track on all my videos. Hope your day is going good. Be the sailors sailing the seas of knowledge. Let's meet in the next video. Until then, bye bye.